Well, I'm sure you remember this.
Unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because there are a bunch of war hawks. Okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives.
There will be no neighbors if there's a nuclear bomb. You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization? He's telling the right truth. You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. That's what you've become. You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party. Will you do that? Yes or no? Okay, simple. Are you going to stop nuclear war? Yes or no? There is no line, because this is bullshit. None of this matters if we're all dead. None of it. You know that. Then let's take it up right now, because this is the only thing that matters. This is the only thing that matters right now. We could be in a nuclear war at any minute, and you continue to fund it. That's what's going on. Why not right now? You're the liar here. Nobody has held you accountable. That's what's happening. And it is time for you to stand up and realize that what you've been saying has been lies. Let your conscience come through for once.
You know, it's amazing that AOC talks all the time about the existential crisis of climate change and how we have to do something about it right now, but seemingly ignores the existential crisis, which would be much more imminent, of nuclear war. That college student and anti-war activist Jose Vega did it again. So this was not the first time that confrontation with AOC. He did it again, this time at New York Representative Adriano Esplat's State of the District event. Esplat was joined by Senator Chuck Schumer, Senators Kirsten Gillibrand, and New York Governor Kathy Hochul, and New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Watch this.
Hey, Mr. Espaillat, how about we talk about how corrupted a liar you are? Right. 50 years in Harlem is still fucked up, right? People are slumped over 125th Street. Guess what? They are slumped over and dying, and you are doing nothing about it. You don't speak for Adam Clayton Powell Jr.
We love New York.
You don't speak for the American people.
We love New York.
You are just as corrupt. And guess what? We're on the verge of nuclear war now because of you. $100 billion for Ukraine, right? So much money for Ukraine. But what about for Harlem?
This is not January 6th.
It's not.
This is the 13th Congressional
Hey, guess what?
District.
Mr. Espaillat, why don't you talk about the fact that people are dying in Harlem? I'm not going to stop unless you address me. Mr. Espaillat, how many people have died because of open-air drug trading because of you and Schumer? How many people have died, huh? You are responsible for the deaths of thousands of people here in Harlem. There's a housing crisis, a homeless crisis. You have done nothing. You are utterly useless. And guess what? Now we are on the verge of World War III with Russia. What have you done? Nothing. You've only made things worse. And everybody's going to end up dead. We're on the verge of nuclear war, people. If you didn't know.
We love him anyway.
Well, Jose Vega joins us now. Jose, welcome to the show.
You have a lot. Thank you for having me.
You know, good for you, really. I mean, good for you for having the guts to actually face these politicians and say what many of us are thinking. I applaud you on that. I hope you have the stamina to do it again and again and again. But my thought would be that they now recognize you and they're maybe not going to let you into these events. So can you tell us What some of the aftermath of this? Did any of these politicians, did AOC reach out to you after this and try to have a conversation with you? Did
Well,
this representative or any of these senators, has anybody reached out?
no, and that's the thing. I mean, I'll just say this. This isn't the first time. Like, this goes back to 2019, actually. And the first time I did an intervention was on Espaillat. This was before the invasion, of course, and I was pressing him on the fact that Congress was sending all this money to Ukrainian Nazis to overthrow the legitimate government in Ukraine. And I mentioned Victoria Nuland by name, and I said, why are we giving this woman so much money to give to Ukrainian Nazis? And then again, I did it in 2021 with Kamala Harris. I was known as the Harris heckler, and then AOC. And then between AOC and this one, actually, we did it on Mike Pompeo also when he spoke at Yale University. And so to answer your question, no, none of these people have decided to try and speak to me. And they are, as I said, utterly useless.
Wow. So they don't say anything. They don't have anybody from their offices that reach out and say a word. They're just like, okay, ignore this guy. I mean, that's really crazy because so many people share the same sentiments as you. So how would you politically describe yourself? I'm sure they're calling you a crazy right winger or something. I mean, how do you describe yourself?
Oh, well, I mean, first of all, I'm a staffer for the Sarah for Senate campaign when she ran against Chuck Schumer in 2022. And now she's running against Kirsten Gillibrand in 2024. I'm also a LaRouche activist. I have a philosophical association with the LaRouche organization and the Schiller Institute, which basically boils down to this. Citizenship is what fuels everything. It's what moves the nation. It's what moves the world. Elected officials, yes, they're the ones who put the things in place. But if citizens aren't there to motivate the elected officials to actually get up off their butts to do something, then it all falls apart. And he believed that. I believe that too. And that's what I am. In terms of left or right, neither. I think both sides have failed.
Yeah, certainly. And, you bring up really great points against AOC. She was supposed to be this progressive that was going to be making some change, and she really does seem to have fallen right into the establishment fold. She doesn't seem to really vote against them when it comes to anything. And she is very active and vocal when it comes to climate change, saying we've got this existential crisis, we're all going to be extinct. But there's nothing that's going to make us extinct any faster than nuclear war. I mean, how does she not seem to understand that? That is the most imminent threat facing us today. Right now is the prospect of nuclear war. And they continue to, these war hawks in Washington continue to exacerbate the situation by snarling and growling at both China and Russia, which is incredibly dangerous. So have you seen any politicians that you've gone after? I mean, we see you in these where you're obviously not welcome. But are there other politicians that you talk to where you are welcome and you found that they are receptive to your anti-war message?
I'd like to say yes, but only in private. And I've had conversations with some of these people, not like AOC or Bowman, but other congressmen that people may not know, or even state officials who say, yeah, you're right. We are in a state of crisis. But look, I mean, I'll put it this way. The point is, I don't think you're going to get these people to actually act unless, as Dr. King said from a letter from a Birmingham jail, you have to dramatize the issue to create a Socratic tension to where it cannot be ignored anymore. And the media can't ignore the fact that the people are tired and they don't want this money being sent to Ukraine. They don't want to die in a nuclear blast. And so that's also why I'm happy to say that on Saturday there's a conference being hosted by the Schiller Institute, and people like Ray McGovern are going to be speaking at it, because we're, apart from also like this February 19th event, the Rage Against the War Machine event.
Yeah.
We've been working, and I know you're one of the speakers, which I'm happy about. But, we've been building a coalition of so many different kinds of perspectives of people who are all citizens. There might be some elected officials in there, former elected officials from all walks of life coming together and saying, okay, we need to put aside our differences for a second and realize we're going to be blown up if we don't do something right now. And that's the power of citizenry. And that's what we've been doing over at the Schiller Institute.
Yeah. Yeah. The Rage Against the War Machine rally, I do want to bring that up a bit. You're going to be there as well, so we'll see you. I am definitely one of the speakers. There's other speakers that are involved. We've got Ron Paul, Jimmy Dore, Scott Horton, Dennis Kucinich. I'm just kind of looking at some of these names here that are on the list. Chris Hedges, Max Blumenthal. You've got Tara Reid, Jackson Hinkle, Scott Ritter. There was some question on whether or not he would be speaking. He is going to be speaking at that event. So that is really great. And again, it is February 19th, starting at Lincoln Memorial and marching to Washington, to the Capitol, or to the White House, I think, actually, to the White House, to speak up against this war, the increased threat of war that they just keep marching us into. And it just makes me wonder, do you think from your perspective that the politicians are just stupid, or is this calculated?
You know, that's an interesting question, because I don't think anybody in their right conscience actually wants this to go nuclear. I mean, maybe there's a few crazy people like Nancy Pelosi who would be happy to see us all blow up. But I do think the squad has in them a modicum of conscience, because they ran. They were passionate at some point, and they thought they could change things, and then they were eaten up by this establishment. And I think the point is to try and shake it out of them again and say, like, listen, there was a point when you stood for something. I mean, look, take Bowman, AOC, and even Espaillat. You know, they all represent some portion of the Bronx. And yet the Bronx has been collapsing since 1977, even before that, too. You know, before you and I were even alive, people were asking the question, is the Bronx burning? They ran thinking that they might be able to actually fix this problem, and now they don't even know what they ended up in. And so when they see me yelling at them, I like to think that they don't see me, they see a ghost of their former self who had that passion, who wanted to actually do something real. So I don't think they're stupid. They're just misguided, and they thought that if they could play the game, they could actually get something going, and they didn't.
What do you think of, Donald Trump recently just came out with a video saying that he is not wanting war. He's wanting to de-escalate. He's wanting peace talks. He's calling for peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. He's the anti-war candidate, it sounds like.
Yeah,
what do you make of that?
Funny. Listen, I think it's... Yeah, go ahead.
Look, love him or hate him. I mean, a lot of people, it's one or the other for a lot of people, it seems. If he's the only person who's actually talking any sanity, if he's the only person who's talking about peace talks and de-escalating, although I don't know if he would truly de-escalate with China. That would be my big question. A lot of these guys that are saying that they're against war with Russia, they then turn around and they posture completely against China. But I think he for sure goes into trade war with China and stuff, but I'm not sure if he's really looking for, itching for an actual hot war. But if he's the anti-war candidate, I mean, look, I'm with you. I think that this is the biggest threat facing us today right now is this prospect of nuclear war, these war hawks just marching us more and more closer and closer towards it. I guess I vote Trump. I
can understand those sentiments, because, if somebody is out here, look, anybody who's calling for de-escalation, I think, is already a good thing. It doesn't matter who they are, right? I think it just shows the fact that the citizenry isn't really mobilizing, because if we have to look to people who are idols or people who are already established figures, I think it shows a little bit of impotence from the citizenry that you don't have people standing up, more people standing up. And so I know people have been like calling me a hero and saying I'm inspiring, and I appreciate it. But my goal is to get other people to start doing this more consistently and frequently, because I don't think we have till 2024. I really don't. I genuinely think this might be the last year we're alive. So, I mean, heck, if Donald Trump wants to come in and save the day, great. But we don't have till November 2024 to figure that out. We only have right now.
You might be right, because I think these politicians know that if they could get us into a war, there's a likelihood Democrats remain in power. They know, they're kind of calculating and looking at the past and saying, in times of war, there's rarely a changeover at the top. That people get frightened and they feel like I got to stick with this guy. Although this guy marching us into a war would be absolutely detrimental. Let me ask you, because I know you're saying that you want more people to get involved, more people to do the same sort of thing that you're doing. I think it's scary for a lot of people. They feel alone, right? They feel like, what I'm going to go and what am I going to do? I'm going to yell. Like for me, my congressperson for a long time, Ted Lieu, I mean, I would love to go and show up at some sort of town hall that Ted Lieu, if he ever even does them. I don't think he does. But, if he's doing something like that, I would love to show up and heckle him the same way you've been doing, I suppose. But it's scary to do that alone. And I think one thing that would help is tell us what happens after. We see the video, but what happened? I mean, are you escorted out? Are you threatened with arrest? I mean, what happens after that?
Well, first, I would say, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. That should be your motivating factor going in. And I think having an overarching idea of why you're doing what you're doing. To answer your question, what happens is it's different at each one, depending on how much resistance you put up. When I did the Kamala Harris one, that was Secret Service escorting me out. And they did ask for my ID, but you don't have to give your ID. You have a First and Fourth Amendment right. You just leave. You just ask, am I being detained? No, get out of there, in and out quick. And that's really it. They don't bother you after you leave the premises because honestly, they just want you to leave. I'll say this. The scariest part is the moment before you actually heckle, before you actually stand up and say something. But once you stand up and say something, it's as if you've already jumped in the water. It's kind of like jumping into the deep end of a pool. Once you're in, the fear is gone. It's the act of jumping that scares you.
So have you ever had one, an event where they recognize you and they say, no, you're not coming in here?
No, because I try to do terrible disguises. Like on my Twitter, you'll see like I had like a beanie and I took the frames out of some glasses to look like a hipster going in. And I always register under like my middle name or something so that nobody's. Oh, people in the audience have recognized me. And then maybe they give me like are you gonna, but.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. That might help people. And then, are they able to kind of maybe contact you or the Institute in order to get some, moral support, I suppose, if they want to confront their congresspeople?
Yes. I think that if people want to understand better how to heckle and also what to heckle on, they should, first of all, attend this conference we're having on this Saturday, at the schillerinstitute.com. Little plug. But they can contact me. They can reach out to me on Twitter. I will be happy to. In fact, somebody did an intervention on Kamala Harris in December, I think, or was November, when she was speaking at UC Berkeley. And he messaged me just saying, hey, I did this thing. Can you edit the video for me? Sure. Gladly. Yeah. So I will help anybody. And they should definitely also attend our conference because I think if you do, you will be inspired and you will know exactly how to heckle your congressman or senator or whoever.
Well, there you go. How to heckle your congressman. That's what we... Jose, thank you so much for being here. I mean, keep at it. Honestly, we need more voices like you. We need more brave people out there that are actually going to challenge them and hold their feet to the fire. And that is absolutely what you're doing. So I will see you February 19th, it turns out, at the event. So looking forward to that at the Rage Against the War Machine rally, February 19th. You can go to rageagainstwar.com to find out about the event if you want to make your way out there and watch us speakers. And also head over to schillerinstitute.com, or is it .org?
No,
it's probably both.
.com.
Okay, schillerinstitute.com to learn how to heckle. All right, Jose. Thank you so much.
Thank you.